All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Remember, we don't want to waste our own time, right? So be focused now so that I don't take your work time for lecture time. All right, Unit 2, Day 3. All right, Unit 2, Day 3. In case you get this on the final, let's put today's date just in case that, for some of you guys, that date helps you organize your notebook. You do it by date. That's really good. 10/2/25. I mean this seriously. This is the first time that I wrote the date correctly. For some reason, this lesson, all 4 other times I've given this lesson, I wrote this date incorrectly, and it's been driving me insane. What? What? You might have gotten your notes wrong, and that's okay. Sometimes we do. We all make mistakes, except for me. All right. So we are looking at Exodus. That's what I get for saying I don't make mistakes, is immediately miswriting something. All right, Exodus 7 through 11. You guys will need, this is what you're going to be reading for group work today. If you did not read this before, you got to read it today because all of the group work depends on it, all right? This is the 10 plagues, or this is God versus gods. All right, God versus gods, or another way, if you were calling this for a TV episode, the one where Israel escapes. The one where Israel escapes. All right, we've been talking about so far the book of Exodus as having Moses as a character, as being a book of hope, but it also is going to be a book of God's action and theology, right? And it's a book that has certain assumed cosmologies. We talk about that all the time. The assumed cosmology for today's work is probably my favorite example of this. It seems to believe in magic. It's that myth magical stuff, but it also believes in one all-powerful God that conquers all the others. All right, so it both has magic because God gives Moses a magic staff and then tells Moses, go do these things, and he keeps having conversations with Moses. And then Moses goes and uses his staff to do different things and does sorcery, right? Like he smacks his staff against the water, or he goes and rubs soot from a big like fire. He takes soot and he sprinkles that around, and he does magic things to make magic happen. And when he goes to Pharaoh, just write your question down and ask it later, right? When he goes to Pharaoh, the sorcerers come up and they're able to repeat some of the things that Moses does. So they actually do it back. So there seems to be this assumption that magic exists. There's also an assumption that many gods exist, right? It is, I know that we talk about this a lot in modern Christianity. We say only God is real. Absolutely, I believe that. But the Bible assumes that there's many gods. And in one of these circumstances, we get God saying in today's story, God starts out, his reasoning for doing what he does is that he's going to destroy the other gods and show them that he dominates, all right? So God is going to send 10 plagues to strike at 10 gods, all right? We're going to go back to that in 1 second, but it's 10 plagues to strike at 10 gods. The first purpose given in the book of Exodus for these plagues is God destroying the other gods. God showing them who's in charge. It doesn't say to show that they're fake. It says to show who's in charge of all the others, which I think is a very important distinction to understand and grab. All right, so it's going to be 10 plagues to strike at 10 gods. In 1 second, we're going to come back to it, and I'm going to give you the names of the gods, and your part of your work, one half of your group's work today, will be listing the gods and listing which plague assaults them, right? So which plague is a strike or an attack on which Egyptian deity. And you'll be able to get those pretty quick if you've read the passage already, or as you read it today as a group, you should be able to get them pretty quickly. That's distracting to me. Please stop doing that. I don't even know who gave you a tape measure or where you got that tape measure. That's so crazy to have. All right. So before we get into this, I want to go ahead and clear up my personal opinion on the book of Genesis is that almost all of the book of Genesis would be, in my, again, personal opinion, you don't have to believe this, I would say it all leans towards that allegorical myth section, right? The book of Genesis that we just looked at all last unit, I believe, personally, like St. Augustine, that it is allegorical or mythic in nature. That it's large scale and meant to say symbolic things, but it's not always historical events. However, when I get to the book of Exodus, when I have that temptation to do it, I always want to look at evidence for things to happen, all right? I always want to look at evidence, and I would say, you look at the plague story. Do we all know this story? If some of us read it, right? God sends 10 plagues to attack 10 gods, as I've been saying, turns the Nile River into blood. I look at this and I go, this is allegorical, whatever. I look at the archaeological evidence. It's important to note that there is no archaeological evidence of the Exodus, all right? So that is an important distinction. Zero archaeological evidence of 400,000 people leaving Israel. There should be. Or leaving Egypt. There should be evidence for that. We should see it in archaeology. We should see smashed up pottery and stuff, but we don't see that. We don't see documents about it. Not many, at least. But we do see one piece of evidence. And I'll go ahead and say that evidence of biblical events is usually pretty sparse, right? We don't usually see a ton of evidence for these large-scale, giant biblical events. But we do see this document called the Pure Admonitions, or Admonitions of a Pure. All right. That's fair to think. A Pure, I-P-U-W-E-R, Admonitions. A Pure Admonitions. To admonish somebody is to speak against somebody. So, I really, really love this letter. It's super niche, all right? But I want to give you some details about this and why I'm going to have you guys work through and read this today. We believe that it's written, this L just means that I'm going to the next thing. Written around, this little squiggly mark means around 1200 BC. All right, so we believe it's written around 1200 BC. Exodus meaning Israel leaving Egypt, Israel fleeing Egypt. Estimated around 1200. All right, it's written around 1200. We believe there's some arguments about that. If you guys decide to nerd out about this, I will nerd out about this document. It's written around 1200 BC. And we believe that the Exodus, or Israel fleeing Egypt, happened around 1200 BC. So, what does that mean about this document and the events of the Exodus? Anybody? It means that they're contemporaries, at least, right? This document probably happened, seems to be something that happened around when we believe the Exodus would have happened. Again, there's no evidence for the Exodus. I'll say this: Israel's account, written during exile. All right, which means what? Israel's account is way younger than this, right? Israel's account is way, way, way younger than this document by 600 years, written 600 years after. But this document seems to have happened around around the events of the Exodus. So we believe that it's contemporary. So if we read the Pure Admonitions and it's very similar to the book of Exodus, what does that mean? That there seems to be a historical basis for the events, right? That's at least the jump that I get to. I go, they have some similarities. They seem to be saying some similar things. And your job today, when I ask for that 500 word, I can move this stuff, guys. When I ask for that 500 word group essay, one of the things I'm going to need you to do is, as a group, find the connections. What are some similarities? And how does that tell you if this is myth or history or mythologize history. Because one of the authors is doing something, right? One of the authors has experienced something. Maybe they're just saying, this is a bad time, and they're making it up. Or maybe the Exodus authors are saying, we're taking this type of event that people know about, and we are making it bigger and grander. Or maybe it's just two different sides of the same coin, right? It looked like one from the pure author, and it looked like another from the Exodus author. Who knows? But those will inform your genre. So that's the first thing. All right, that's the first half of my lecture. This next half should go, I hope, quite a bit quicker. Are we ready for me to erase this? No? All right, tell you what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mute this, get rid of that. All right, I'm going to give you 10 gods. These are the Egyptian gods. As soon as I get done with this, I'm going to tell you the god, what they're the god of, and anything that is like important about their appearance that might help you. So we're going to walk through here. I'm just going to give them in random order. Your job today, as you look at the plagues, will be to tell me which god is being attacked when. All right. Why are you doing that? All right, our first. Oh my gosh. I'll just do this. I'll go back to it later. All right, the first is a god named Khepri. They're the god of rebirth, the sun, of the sun. All right, they are in charge of the night and day because the night and day represent new cycles of life. So they are rebirth, new cycles of life, the movement of the sun. Then we get my guy Happy, Hapi, Happy, water bearer to the gods, water bearer to the gods. Guys, when you get to this in social studies, they're going to be so impressed that you all know these gods or are familiar with them. Water bearer to the gods, god of the Nile. The Nile was the lifeblood for ancient Egyptians. You lived and died by the cycle of the Nile River, right? If the Nile River is dried up, then you, as a people, are going to go into a great difficulty. All right, it's important to mention, Hapi, when they're depicted, so when there's a picture drawn of them, has the head of a frog, has a frog head. This might be obvious to some of you guys, as to which one is what. I believe that Hapi is right. Oh no, sorry, this one does not have a frog head. Hold on. Just right on there, Mr. Lang is a dingus. That's fine. Mr. Lang's a dingus, made a mistake. Yeah, this is the one I was trying to get to. Our next one is Hecate. Hecate has a frog head. Hecate, frog head. Heket. Fertility. Fertility goddess. Birth. Life. Pregnancy. All right. So we've done Happy, Hecate. We did Khepri. Hathor. I know my handwriting's bad, but this gets you guys to focus. Hathor is healing and medicine. Is that right? No, sorry. Love and protection. Don't worry, you guys didn't write fast enough. Love and protection. Love and protection. I need coffee is what I'm realizing. Love and protection. Cowhead. Cowhead God. I'm going to leave these up for a little while, so if you guys get, that one was Hathor. All right. Isis is our medicine and peace. Not the ISIS we know about in today's news. ISIS, medicine, and peace. All right. And then we've got 1, 2, 3. All right, my boy Geb here. God of dust, earth. All right. Ra, sun god. You should know that one. That one should be easy enough. Ra. All right. Seth is storms. Storms and disorder or chaos. All right. This should be 8. All right. This one. All right. Let's do our best to be mature on this one, but I get it. Nut. Sky. Yeah, the god Nut. All right. And finally, Pharaoh. They believed in ancient times, God of children of Egypt. They believed in ancient times that the Pharaoh was the literal physical son of God. He was born by God by Ra. So Pharaoh is born by Ra and controls life and death in Egypt. It is his job to control life and death in Egypt. So if we know the 10 plague stories, what's the 10th plague? Anybody? What is it? What, Junior, what's the 10th plague?
The 10th, the death of the firstborn.
Okay, so who's that plague attack? The guy that's in charge of the firstborns, right? All right, that being said, that's all we're going to lecture at you. You got about 50 minutes or so, 45 minutes to write a 500-word essay as groups of 5. Put your names in there, choose your groups. I don't care who you choose your groups of. Go ahead, get started. You have until the end of class to get this work submitted.